How can you make sure that your team is comfortable with change, that they're more adaptable in this crazy VUCA world that we live in now, where everything is changing all the time in disruptive ways? And maybe most importantly, how can you help them to develop a mindset that looks for opportunities and innovation in the middle of all of that disruption? It's not enough to just see the trends, to have an idea of what the future might bring. I mean, things like AI and climate change and geopolitical instability, employee well-being, all of these things are fairly well known. In fact, I would argue they are even inevitable. But the big question is, what must we do about them? How can we prepare for tomorrow's world today? My name's Graeme Codrington, and this is what I do. I'm a futurist, and I love to try and look at the future, not predict what could happen, but attempt to anticipate some of the disruptions coming our way. But more importantly, I love to help people to prepare for whatever might happen and to upgrade their thinking about both the future and today's world. There are lots of answers to the question, how do we prepare ourselves for the future? But I think that one of the best of those is to get your team to use scenario thinking, to practice imagining different futures and developing what I call their strategic imagination about the possible ways in which the world might change. In essence, we're using neuroscience, our understanding of how our brains work, to actually rewire our brains. Our brains are designed to see the world as it is and to use the experiences we've already had of the world to see what's coming. We've got to do better than that in a world where the change is not just volatile and uncertain, but we are seeing things, experiencing things we've never done or seen before. And so we need to rewire our brains to be able to think about what is possible. And what that allows us to do is to be more comfortable when change happens, to be more open to disruption in our systems and institutions and the world around us. And then because of that confidence and calmness, really, we're able to look for opportunities, not just be nervous of the threats. It really comes down to what if thinking. What would happen if? And then we think about different scenarios, good and bad, near term and far into the future. Every Thursday, I put together a video. I call it Throw Forward Thursday. A little bit cheesy, I know. But I attempt to help you to do this, to take you somewhere in the future and show you a scenario of what might happen and invite you to think about it. And I'm really excited to announce that our team has taken 25 of our favorite scenarios from the Throw Forward Thursday series, and we've put them together into an ebook for you about strategic imagination. It's essentially now a toolkit. We've taken each of the scenarios, we've given you a little bit more information linked to the video that I put together, and then created a discussion guide that will help you not just think about the scenario itself, but to also develop your strategic imagination and see if that scenario applies to your business or extract some of the principles from that scenario for your industry. Now, this book is now available. The members of my Futures Club get the full book, all 25 scenarios, for free, and you can sign up now, join the Members Club, get access to it immediately, and access all the other resources that are available in the Members Club, or you can just go and to this website over here and buy a copy of the ebook. If you'd prefer to have a look at a sample, we've taken 2 of them and we've put them together at a sample. Go to this website and have a look at the sample and see if it works for you. But let me demonstrate to you how the strategic imagination toolkit works. Let me take one of the scenarios, one of my favorites. It's about talking to animals and understanding what animals are saying. The scenario is this, and each scenario has got 2 pages. Here's the first page in which we just outline what the scenario is. There's also a link to the video that I did on this a number of months ago. And the scenario is this, that obviously when animals are making noises, they are communicating. They can understand each other. And those people who get to know those animals, whether it's a bird or a cow or a dog or a cat, they kind of get to know what these animals are saying and how they're communicating. But imagine we could take a massive database of all of these animal sounds and then link them to the behaviors that follow those sounds. Again, you can understand this isn't going to be very difficult to do. There are people who already do this and they understand what these animals are trying to communicate. But if you now extend that to a massive database where we're able to eventually put it into an app, where you just hold your phone in front of a dog that's barking and the phone then converts that into what it is that your dog is most likely saying. Of course, we could go the other way around and then we talk into the app and it produces a sound which can then communicate with animals. Might sound a little bit fanciful, but probably not that fanciful when you think about it. And this is often the case with strategic imagination. The scenarios sound crazy at first. They sound as if, what would that world be like if that happens? And then when you begin to think about it, you realize it's not that crazy. What we do with these scenarios is we jump to the scenario. We attempt as far as possible to make sure we're not asking the question, how do we get there? What's the technology we need in place? What's the engineering that's going to have to happen? How much is it going to cost? Who would do this? We ignore all those questions. We jump to the scenario and we say, wouldn't it be wonderful if? What would happen if we were able to do that? Then we can reverse engineer back to where we are today and say, we can see some of the components. Some of them are very big, very complex. They would take many years and lots of money to get done. But we can see the principle. And once we've done that, we are then ready to apply this scenario to our business and our current reality. Now, if you're in an environment where you are working with animals, there's an immediate application, obviously. If you're in farming, if you're a vet, for example. And we actually discovered, having put this scenario together, as fanciful as we were trying to be, that actually there are chicken farmers who are already close to achieving this. They've kind of understood what chickens are saying, and they've got a translation system that allows them to understand at least some senses. Are the chickens cold or hot? Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Whatever the case may be. It's remarkable. We try and push ourselves into the future and then discover these things are already happening. But the reason I chose this as an example for you is that it's not necessarily, and in fact it's actually less important to apply these scenarios directly to your business, but more important to have a look at the underlying principles that the scenario invites you to think about. In this case, it's what could we do with massive data sets? Once we begin to realize the power of gathering data that is focused, the power that we have in AI, it's not really AI, it's large language models. So ChatGPT and Copilot and Llama and even Elon Musk's Grok are all systems that are language-driven systems. They're designed to look at massive data sets, identify the patterns in that data, and extract something that makes sense to us in our chosen human language. And so if you were able to put the right kind of data into those data sets, you could get some fascinating outputs and some fascinating insights that could impact your business. So maybe your business has got nothing to do with animals at all, but you can use that example of training a database on animal sounds. You can use that to stretch your strategic imagination to say, what sort of data might we have available? So for example, an insurance company might realize that they have data about where car accidents happen. And if they can analyze that data strategically, maybe they can see patterns in that data. Maybe there's a certain intersection that only has accidents between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. And then they need to ask, well, what's going on between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock on a Tuesday? And maybe if they send somebody to that intersection between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, they can work out what happens. And then once they know what happens, they can maybe make sure that no accidents occur at that time. In other words, insurance turns from being a after the fact helping people to recover from an accident that they have. Insurance begins to be a proactive, preventative situation. So you can see an immediate application, and that shift towards preventative, proactive, rather than being reactive, could apply in almost every industry, from law to banking, from medicine to education. So whatever industry you're in, what we do is, step one, we show the scenario, we invite people to stretch their imaginations. Step two, we reverse engineer the scenario to say, what are some of the underlying technologies and systems that would need to be in place in order for this scenario, talking to animals, to be a reality? And then finally we say, what would those technologies and systems changes and processes do for us in our industry if we began to apply them today? And that really is a simple conversation that you can spend 5 to 10 minutes with your team, and maybe do it 2 of them a month. That's why we've given you 25 of them. Our book will last for a whole year if you do 2 of them a month, getting your team to almost take their brain out for a little bit of a warm-up around thinking about strategy, strategic imagination, the future, possibilities, scenarios, and what-if thinking. If you do this on a regular basis, 2 or 3 times a month throughout the year, then when you need your team to think strategically, when you're coming up with next year's plans and goals and budgets and targets, their brains will be much more tuned to doing that. When you're bringing a change program into the business, your team will be a lot more comfortable imagining what a different future might look like. And you'll have built adaptability, responsiveness to change, and have brought an opportunity mindset to your team. The Strategic Imagination Toolkit, it's there for you to use and apply with your teams in your businesses to unlock the future and build a better business for you and your team. If our team at Tomorrow Today Global can help you with any of these beyond just using this new ebook of ours, please make sure you connect with us, contact us, and we'd love to talk to you about how we can work with you and walk alongside you into this wonderful future we can imagine together.